Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.
Hello, my friends. It is Thursday, the 24th of April, 2025, which of course means it is time for episode 52 of Mullinger's Weekly Ramble. I know it's supposed to come out on a Wednesday and we're a day late. Maybe you didn't notice, maybe you don't care. There's a very good reason for it. Yesterday was the big day and big night of the St. John Regional Hospital Foundation's Medical Innovators Challenge that I was emceeing at the Marco Polo cruise ship terminal. Genuinely one of the most inspiring, uplifting events. To put it into perspective, I've worked closely with all of the teams that were pitching for these, literally innovative, game-changing, groundbreaking projects that will quite literally save lives and save, taxpayers in the province and everyone else millions of dollars. Just heroic people who already do heroic jobs in healthcare, in pediatrics, in schools, and they take their time out to come up with these. It worked tirelessly around the clock to come up with these pitches, which then receive funding. Over $2.5 million has been granted to these projects since the innovation of this. The Medical Innovators Challenge, you might not recognise the name because it's like all great things in St. John, it's undergone half a dozen different names. It was formerly known as the Lions Den. I think it was called Dragon's Den, it was called Lions Den. You could say it's where the Lions Den used to. You can fill in the gaps, you don't want to hear me say, go on then, used to be. There you go. Some people are tuning out right now. Anyway, I will go through the winners later and talk you through everything that's phenomenal about that. There are films to come. There's actually going to be a story in the next volume of the Mailto about it. I have had a tremendously busy week building up to that. I'll go through the week and I'll go through your questions because I've got some wonderful questions from you. Obviously, every single week I say this is my busiest week ever. This week, I would have to say, is possibly the busiest. 5 gigs, 5 nights in a row. I know I've done a lot more than that, but they're all quite big ones. Filming most days, rehearsals most days, dozens of other deadlines. Anyway, it's all wonderful. I feel different. It could be because this Easter was my first ever Easter without eating any chocolate. Isn't that unbelievable? And I say this is amazing because I am a chocolate addict. Like most people with ADHD, I have a highly addictive personality. For me, it's kind of, generally always, all or nothing. So I will go through phases of, extreme kind of, detoxes. And then, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, although I say that periods or basically, if I open a box of Ganong chocolates, like one of those delicious huge boxes, I am eating the entire box. Like there's no, the voice in my head will go, you can have one. And you have one, you go, well, that was nice. You can have a second one, you have a third, and then you kind of get into it. It's almost like it's kind of like with a drinking bender. When you kind of you get into it, and you're like, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. I've had half the box. I might as well see this through to the delicious end, rather than the bitter end. Get it? So I've been reading. It's funny. I've been learning a lot recently while writing my new book about late in life ADHD diagnosis. It's funny the stuff that you learn. Like, did you know that? Well, here's a fun fact. I mean, obviously, as you've heard, if you listen to this podcast regularly, my attention span is not great. Someone with ADHD has an 8-second attention span. A goldfish has 9 seconds. That means you would be better off listening to Goldie's Weekly Ramble than Mullinger's Weekly Ramble if you liked your sentences to be finished and for there to be some semblance of normalcy and organisation and completed paragraphs and thoughts that actually have beginning, middles, and ends. And I guess we kind of knew this. So I guess going back to the chocolate thing, it's like ADHD brains are constantly seeking out stimulation, right? I think it's the thing that why so many professional comedians have ADHD, because it's like we're the ones, like lots of people start comedy and lots of people are very good at it. And a lot of people I started out with were far better than I am. You won't be surprised to hear. but the ADHD brain just keeps coming back because you want the stimulation, whether it's from being booed off stage or whether it's the high of a great gig or the low of a terrible one. We need that, and I guess it's the healthiest possible way of finding that stimulation. It's got to be healthier than doing extremely dangerous stunts or taking drugs. Anyway, so I am. So tonight I have a warm-up show at Hampton Brewing Company. So if you're coming to that, I look forward to seeing you. Running in this Saturday's show. This Saturday I'm doing but the point I was trying to get to, took 5 minutes. This Saturday is my annual big show in St. John. Now I do obviously some shows in and around St. John during the year, but I only do one big theatre show a year. Theatre or arena show a year. For the past 10 years, I've done one each. I did, it's either the Imperial Theatre every year, or I did the Harbour Station a couple of times, where the Harbour Station used to be. It's now the TD Centre Arena, home of these wonderful Sea Dogs. And so this Saturday night, I'm doing a venue I haven't played actually for about 7 years. I did 2 shows here very early, and Dennis Nibb Auditorium at St. John High. The show is very much a celebration of New Brunswick teachers, New Brunswick community heroes, as I guess all of my shows are, but this one specifically, I'm kind of talking about how I got into comedy, how a teacher inspired me. There's aspects to this show that if you've seen me do a keynote speech before, you might have heard some of those stories, but also mixed in with a lot of reams and reams of, I'm not going to say his name, but the guy who has made us hear the bloody word I don't think I'd ever heard the word tariff before. I don't know, before wherever it was that Cheeto started banging on about it. Maybe I heard it. Maybe do you have tariff? Is it a tariff when you drive down a road? It's a toll. You have tolls when you drive down a road. Anyway, let's crack on through. So anyway, point being, I'll go through the week. Yeah. So tonight, Hampton Brewing Company. Yeah. I think there's 2 tickets left. Message me if you want them. Tomorrow night, Long Bay Brewery, which I believe is sold out. And Saturday night, St. John High. Basically, the whole ground floor is sold out. And then there's maybe 50 seats left in the balcony. Nice, gorgeous Dennis Nibb Auditorium. If anyone has any stories about Dennis Nibb, by the way, who I believe was also an Englishman, who moved to St. John and fell in love with the place, and he was, I believe, I think he was headmaster of St. John High when my wife was there. My wife, I've said this before. I forget what things. That was one of the 6 days without. So it was my first ever Easter without chocolate, which I was so happy about, because last Christmas was, I think, my first Christmas without drinking an alcoholic drink or smoking a cigarette the whole day. And did I do the same on New Year's Eve, possibly? I think I did. Yeah, I'm trying to do these things where I don't know why I do this. Anyway, so I think I gave up chocolate for Lent. No, I gave up chocolate for Easter. Is that the right thing to do? Is that the wrong thing to do? Answers in a prayer book. So what did I... But last week, okay, so last week after I recorded, I recorded on Wednesday morning, and then I went to the St. John Trade Convention Centre to deliver the closing keynote at the New Brunswick Real Estate Association. It was truly a joy. What an amazing thing. New Brunswick Realtors, we're very similar in that we seek out meeting newcomers. They are often the first people that we see and meet when we move from a different place. So anyway, I had a wonderful time talking to them, entertaining them. It's an amazing thing to have a room full of people laughing at 10 o'clock in the morning. Humble. No, this isn't a humble brag. This is just a brag. It's also an incredible feeling when you get a standing ovation in a morning gig, because it's hard to get them at the best of times. I think people realize what a rarity it really is in comedy that happens, that a standing ovation occurs. So when it does, it really, really means something. And met so many old friends, met so many new friends. I mean, saw my dear friend Kim Legg there, who again was my realtor, who sold me my dream home when I moved here. Anyway, it was so much fun, and I guess what can I say? I absolutely love doing keynotes, and I was working with an organization, Elm City Events. I'm going to double check I did get that right, because they were an absolute joy to work with. And again, it's just that thing where when every single technical detail is taken care of. Elm, I hope seriously, I hope I got that right. Okay, yes, Elm City Events it was, and it was the 2025 New Brunswick Realtors Symposium. And basically, I mean, again, my friend Dwayne was there. Massive shout out to the amazing. I'm sure lots of you know the amazing St. John photographer Michael Hawkins, who just shoots some of the greatest live hockey pictures and indeed live event pictures you'll ever see. But yeah, anyway, I love doing keynotes. Because it's fun, like in a club. Like I guess I've been doing this job long enough now that I know I can go into a comedy club and do the job, make people fall about laughing. In the keynote environment, I love working closely, and I work very closely with Carolina, Elm City Events, to craft what I understood they wanted for the event, which was a celebration of the place, collaborating, working together. Anyway, and it was quite interesting because I often tell the story about how the whole, moving here and within 2 years filling the arena story. I often tell that, and in other keynotes, I don't necessarily name companies, or I just talk about the community and local businesses. But interestingly, their lead sponsor was Lexus of St. John, who was the lead sponsor on all of my early shows. Who, again, the Core family were just so incredibly kind to me when I moved here, and basically all those things I did when I came here, I could not have done without them. And it was an amazing thing to move to a place and to have local entrepreneurs, self-made, crucially, self-made entrepreneurs, go, okay, there's this newcomer in town. What can we do to make, to keep him here, to help him thrive? And basically everything that's happened since then, thanks to them. So it was very interesting anyway. They were the lead sponsors. Sunday at a nice coffee in the morning at Garden Grove with my friend Shannon Hunter about who is the president and CEO of the St. John Regional Hospital and Foundation, about the event and many other things that we're working on. What else did I do that day? Went to the YMCA, had meeting. Did a wonderful interview with Jay from Local FM, which I believe is now online. That night we watched the Apprentice finale. That's the Apprentice, the UK one with Lord Alan Sugar, and not the American one with the Orange Rapist. Friday morning, Good Friday, walked to Rossay Common for Vantage Build's annual Easter egg hunt, which is just gorgeous. I mean, if you haven't been to the Vantage Build Easter egg hunt on Rossay Commons on Good Friday, I implore you to go. It's one of those community events that we should have a lot more of in this place that we live in. Every small town in England has events like this, and it's just the fact that just amazing local entrepreneurs, the kitchen family getting together and going, okay, we will bankroll this ourselves. We will give eggs to hundreds of children. They're beautiful flowers, bouquets for the mums. Fuck all for the dads, obviously. We don't deserve anything. No, I'm just joking. There was coffee and we went out to eat eggs, and there was healthy snacks there for dads. I mean, they think of everything. Obviously, the owners of my favourite cafe, Garden Grove Cafe. One after that, I came back for a chat with. Actually, that's still secret. I'll tell you about that in a couple of weeks. It's the TV project that's coming up very soon. I'm going to Toronto to do in June. Oh, I've been watching, and then went to our dear friends. Well, I went to my other friends who are the other co-owners of Garden Grove Cafe, to the new houses, and had a delightful afternoon before coming home and watching Your Friends and Mine, the new Jon Hamm show, which is great and very good and blah, 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 blah. But you know what? I'm getting a bit sick of watching shows just about rich people being dicks. Kind of already knew that. And so Saturday morning, well, I knew that Sunday, me and River were going to go. Sorry, the whole family. On Sunday, I knew that the whole family was going to Moncton for Hunter had a hockey tournament, which I was so excited about. Oh, I met an amazing guy there. What was his name? Amazing guy. You will all know him. Very kind gentleman came up and approached me there. And his name, he's a former NHL hockey player. I believe he runs it there. I believe he is pretty much, like, according to people whose I have mentioned his name to, tell me that he's like the godfather of New Brunswick hockey. Why can't I find his name? It's in here somewhere. Okay, I can't find it. Well, you can tell me who it is. Anyway, he runs a hockey. Why isn't it in here? So annoying. April 7. Cinema. This is very frustrating. The Facebook has deleted my my message to him. Anyway, a phenomenal um, gentleman who runs. Anyway, I'm going to meet with him and then we'll talk. So anyway, so me and River, we couldn't go to church on Sunday, obviously, because of his Sunday. So River and I actually went Saturday morning to morning prayer. Interestingly, the only two people there. So it was it was really quite inspiring seeing the minister um, deliver a morning service with all the passion and enthusiasm, as if, and it just, I often think of stand-up comedy and preaching as similar, I guess, techniques, art forms, if you will. I know they're obviously I know they're very different, completely different vocations, but there's and of course comedians tend to have the luxury of spending some time refining a joke and then doing it for a year or two. Obviously, ministers have to do a brand new 20-30 minute set every single week. I've always been absolutely in awe of that. Anyway, it was quite amazing to see someone, and I've done gigs obviously to one person before. So again, to see him do it to two was really beautiful and inspiring. Then went home and watched the thing that I always look at when I want to feel inspired, which is I watched the new Andre Rieu DVD of his Maastricht concert from last year. Obviously, I've already seen it at the Cineplex, but ordered the DVD from the Andre Rieu fan shop, and it makes me feel it makes me feel happy watching a concert with comedy and opera and ballet and dance and classical music, and just nothing is too over the top, and mad things happen. A Kit, the Knight Rider car, comes out. This is not this one, it's a different one. But Kit, the Knight Rider car, comes out, and David Hasselhoff gets out and starts dancing and singing. I mean, nothing's too over the top for Andre Rieu, and that's what I love about what he does. And as I mentioned before, I think I'm planning a new Brunswick version of this that maybe will land next year, maybe will land the year after. But it's a big show that I plan to put together, consisting of multiple different. Sorry, when I was trying to find that email, my Instagram feed came up, and I'm on that page. What's that page that where it's just all the pictures or the videos it kind of recommends? It's like thumbnails of all the videos and all the stuff it recommends. You should see mine. If you want to see a screenshot of mine, send me a message. I'll tell you. It's literally just videos of. I've got a video. It's a mini doodle riding a bike with another mini doodle in the back. Actually, I've got to save that one. That is absolutely genius. Where's the button? Bloody social media. It makes you so... basically, is someone dressed up as a... Basically, what I'm trying to say is my entire feed is just videos of doodles, and weirdly, it's like muscular men. I mean, a lot of them are beating bells off each other. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of UFC. Why are you always arguing? ADHD memes, mini doodles looking cute, people beating shit out of each other, and pictures of men exercising, saying that I should be doing more of this and less drinking. That's essentially what it is. So my algorithm thinks that I drink too much, need to get in shape, and need to be cheered up looking at pictures of doodles on a regular basis. Pretty spot on. Okay. Saturday night, there was a lovely event at Indigo, like a Lego building Easter event that me and River went to. It's so much fun. It was like a hunt, activities, and then we built some Lego. And then that night, Pam and I went to see our one of my favourite musicians, Rose Cousins, at the Imperial Theatre with our dear friends Barb and Darcy, who I didn't realise are actually related to Rose. Barb Murphy is true hero of our community. I should point out, actually, on Monday, Barb, as many of you know, is a community champion, a community leader. Does so much fundraising for all kinds of organisations, including the St John Regional Hospital Foundation. And on Monday, I will be at her Milledgeville branch of Tim Hortons for the Smile Cookie Decorating Contest. Some of the finest surgeons and heroes, kings. I don't know all the lingos for the different things. Whether someone's a surgeon or a physician, or I have lots of friends in that field, but I don't know. So Ansar is a heart surgeon. My friend Zlako is a I mean, I know he's a doctor. I know, is he a surgeon? I guess he is a surgeon. And then what would a physician be? Anyway, I should learn some of this stuff. I'll be there with some amazing doctors doing the Smile Cookie contest on Monday. What else have I got on coming this week? Oh yeah, my son River is in rehearsals all weekend. He is in Frozen Junior, the musical, in a couple of weeks. I'm very excited about that. Needless to say, I will not say any more about the difficulty with performing in certain places that are an hour away from here, because that got me a little bit of trouble recently that I will share at a later date. But I will say that not now being able to go and do a show in a place where Canadians aren't welcome. Well, I'm not going to say that. No, it's not that we're not welcome there. Sorry, it's just I don't want to go there. Minefield. If only I knew how to edit, I would probably I'd go back and edit last days. Again, love the people in that place, but not the right time, and I'm looking forward to seeing them all again soon. But my point is that on the plus side, my son there are 3 performances of his middle school musical, Frozen Junior, so I will be able to go to all 3. Anyway, but am I jumping ahead? Rose Cousins in Bill saying that absolutely phenomenal. I mean, her voice just unbelievable. Her dog Harrington came on stage at the end. She sang for the encore a Coldplay song. It was absolutely gorgeous. And her opening act, Rachael Kilgour. Google her. Look, it's spelled RachaelKilgour. She was the opening act, and I got to tell you, I was weeping. Absolutely weeping. She was talking about her dad, and essentially about she has an album out, by the way, called My Father Loved Me, and it's about her father, obviously, but about you try your best as a father, and are you the best? And I don't know, that's something that often one of the things that plagues me the most. It's so desperate to be the best possible father you can be, best possible parent you can be, and how every single thing you say and do has an effect on your kids, and you're constantly thinking, oh my God, was me saying this going to make them like this when they're older? Was this going to make them do this when they're older? Anyway, I found her set very moving. So Rose Cousins, if you get a chance to see her on tour, go and see it. And Rachael Kilgour, check out her work. Sunday, like I say, we were in Moncton all day for the tournament, for the hockey tournament. It was so much fun. Nothing makes me happier than that. And bumped into my wonderful cousin, my wife's cousin, but I call him my cousin, Chris Little. And we all went to Moxie's for lunch. Monday, what did we do? I had a great meeting with Matt Samet, who is my stage manager for this weekend's show. My wife and I spent hours picking up leaves. River had soccer tryouts, and then we played soccer in the garden. The score was 10-8 to him, since you asked. Yesterday, although massive thanks to what's his name? Can't find his name. Okay, I'll do that next week. Rehearsal, but anyway, okay, I'm banging on big time. I need to change it from Manager's Weekly Bam to Manager's Weekly Bang On. But anyway, so you got the deals of the shows. I'll talk you through let's go to your questions. Okay, Tim Andrews, my beloved friend from Oxford, England, now lives in Nova Scotia. Podcast question: favorite European city for a vacation? Excellent question. Well, I tell you where I'd like to go is obviously Maastricht to see did I finish that? No, maybe I did. Maastricht to see an Andre Rieu concert. That is my dream. Paris, I would say, was one of my favorites. It was the first place I ever went abroad when I was about 20 on the Eurostar, pretty much when the Eurostar opened. Didn't fly on a plane since I was till my mid-20s, I don't think. So I would say Paris, just because it is actually as beautiful as everyone thinks. I have been to Florence, and I was staying in a hotel there that had an original, was it Michelangelo or Da Vinci, one of the two, on the wall. But I remember going to Paris the first time. My dad, I have a scrapbook of it downstairs, and was obsessed with the Mona Lisa. And I remember seeing the Mona Lisa for the first time and just standing there staring at it for ages. Mark Normans, the comedian, has a great story about going to the Louvre for the first time and accidentally taking crack. It's absolutely hilarious. And it's on, I believe, one of those Protect Our Parks podcasts. My dad and I did not take crack for either the Mona Lisa or the Notre Dame. But I have to say that if I was going to make a documentary film, a fun one could be me and my dad went to Paris and took crack. If you're listening, Dad, tell me if you're up for trying. It sounds dangerous to me, the old crackola, but I've heard it. I've heard it's extremely Moorish. However, if maybe if we both, heaven forbid, but if we both got a terminal illness, maybe we both go and try crack at the leave. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I should model my life on things that Mark Normand has done. Although I will say, hilarious comedian, I believe he's coming to Halifax later this year. Although I don't know why I'm plugging American comedians who are coming to Canada. But anyway, well, because I'm not someone that holds a grudge. Okay, do you mind? Does that answer the question? Tim Andrews, favourite European city for vacation? Yeah, Paris. Although I'd love to go to Amsterdam. Never been. What other European cities? Used to love going to Mallorca. Julie Wood, my dear friend Julie. Many of you will know. Dear James, I have a question. Have you ever flown into Toronto via Billy Bishop and taken the 2-second ferry ride? I went to Toronto in a Feb and I thought of you both times I took it. Yep, I have certainly been on it is absolutely hilarious, that 2-second ferry ride, which the first time you take the ferry ride, you're like, what the heck was that? And then you realize that you can actually walk it. The walk is quicker. But as a ferry connoisseur and as someone who is obviously going on the ferry boat tour of Canada, I've done Grumman, I've got Vancouver Island coming up later this year. I've got the Peninsula this summer. I mean, people are, and I am doing some shows in Toronto in June, actually. Anyone have a ferry near them? Belle Isle. If you've got a venue in Belle Isle, let me know, because I desperately want to perform. I should perform on a ferry boat. Although the Billy Bishop one is only 2 seconds, so you couldn't really have much of a gig in 2 seconds. There's only one thing I do that lasts 2 seconds, and that's sex. So I can have sex on the Billy Bishop ferry ride, but I couldn't do a set. Anyway, any suggestions? That I'm doing a show. My first time ever on the Dartmouth ferry was actually last year with Nancy Reagan. Next question, Heidi White. How long do you think you would last in a zombie apocalypse if one would happen? How long would I last in a zombie apocalypse? Well, funny enough, Heidi, I do think about this all the time. I like that you've asked that, possibly thinking I might find it a left field question, when actually it is precisely the kind of thing I think about all the time. When I watch movies, or even when I watch movies like The Quiet Place, you think, how would I there was a movie I once saw as a child called A Quiet Earth, in which like 5 people were left on the earth. Like they suddenly wake up and there's no one there. And then I think weirdly the twist turned out to be that you only lived or survived if you were underwater at the time. That was the one thing they figured out, was that they were all in different states of being underwater. One might have been being drowned by someone. One was washing their face in a puddle. One was having a bath. And this can't be fully right, because there was only like 5 of them, and it's not really possible that only 5 people on the planet were underwater at one time. Not that obviously it was a documentary based on any fact. It was science fiction, not science faction. But I vividly remember this movie and people walking around the streets being empty, them going into shops, and how at first it's like, well, hey, oi, you can nick all this stuff, but then obviously it's like you've stolen a flat screen TV, then it breaks, and you're like, who's going to fix it? None of us is a televisionician, and then who's going to change the power lines? Like, how long does the internet last? Like, if the whole world stops, how long does the internet start? Like, the bell cut you off because you haven't paid your bill automatically? Probably. Bell could do evil from the grave, I feel. And just in the interest of full disclosure, it's Showcode Rogers and every single other giant corporation who loves to scream, "We're Canadian, we're local, support us," while jacking up prices, screwing people over, and especially the elderly, making sure the elderly pay the most. They love doing that, those companies. Is anyone else getting sick of that? The proudly Canadian. My dog is barking. Wonder why. I shouldn't have said all that. Whatever. Would I last long in a zombie apocalypse? Not in terms of fighting, but yes, in terms of hiding. I think even with my kind of jiggling and shaking and ADHD isms, I feel like if need be, I think because I'm such a scaredy cat, I would last a while. Like, don't expect any heroics from me. Like, in like a bank robbery movie where it's like, don't be a hero. But they wouldn't say that to me. They're going to look at me and go, that's the opposite of a hero. That is, he will do anything, So I think I'd last a while, basically because I'm a wimp and just very good at hide and seek. Caitlin asked me last week what was the best gift I'd received, and what's the best gift I've ever been given. And I have decided I want to answer this every week. I think the best gift I've ever received was, and I don't think I said this last week, but I want to say it now, was a Canadian passport. I feel like that actually this could be a good piece for the show. Anyway, I'll highlight that. Thanks, Caitlin. If anyone's listening and is coming to the show on Saturday and there is something they want me to either A, talk about specifically, politically, whatever, socially, morally, sexually, whatever it is. Okay, I might go and get Willow. This isn't going to cut. Willow. Okay, I'm going to go and I don't have to pause these things, so I'll be right back. I won't just stay here. I'll play some. You know what I'll do? I'll play some music for you while I go. Do you want to listen to Rose Cousins playing Coldplay? I'm going to play that. I'll be right back. It's just an iPhone video. There you go. It's playing. I'll be back in a minute with the dog. Okay, I'm back. It's all right. There was no problem. The dog is absolutely fine. My wife was eating chicken and Willow wanted it. Okay, so Caitlin has asked a question, fresh question for this week. Early in your podcast, you mentioned / joked about turning the podcast into a matchmaker for the simple fact that obviously there are, as I understand it, there are tons of incredible, amazing. Sorry, I'm a bit out of breath. Just running up a few stairs. Amazing, incredible women in St. John area. And apparently there is as I understand it, a dearth of quality single men. So we need to find them and pair them up. So you're right, Caitlin. I did say I was going to do that, and no one followed up. So Caitlin said asking for a friend. Caitlin Dinners was a perfect example of this. An absolutely hilarious, brilliant, incredible woman who I'm assuming you're not having a great deal of luck. Is that what you're trying to say, Caitlin? You're saying that the men are, well, share your bad experiences with. That could be okay. Here's how we can get this off the ground. People can anonymously share with me their bad experiences. Now, I know some of you have done before. Kenny hasn't told me this, but other people have told me this, that there is a big problem of St. John men sharing what can only be described as dick pics, penis pictures, bell end blotters, what are the words for prick pics? Well, you get the gist. So that seems to be a problem. So first of all, men, stop doing that. B, please, ladies, share with me your terrible stories. And you know what, Katie, you're absolutely right. Let's bring it back. Starting with you Send me name, bio, what you're looking for, and I'm going to start it, and I'll read them out. That's how I'm going to do it. You're absolutely right. I said I was going to do it, and I never don't do what I'm going to say, so I'm going to do it. Tom Smith has asked the question, can you believe it's not butter? I actually can't believe it's not butter, frankly, and remind me, see, I always use margarine, but then people say that that's worse for you. Do you ever see these weird things like, oh, the non-fat milk is worse for you than the thing, and the Diet Coke's bad for you because it's got the aspartame in it that kills you? I don't know. But to be honest, yeah, I find margarine phenomenal because I can't believe it's not butter. Good. Adam Blanchard has asked favourite Jurassic Park sequel. I can't remember exactly which one. I definitely liked The Lost World when it came out, however many, 20, 30 years ago. My favourite Jurassic Park sequel would have to be the one that came out around 2017, 2018 on Blu-ray, which I believe was, I have it because I was on my favourite ever family holiday in a beautiful place called Rexton in New Brunswick. We went to this tiny little cottage on the water which is near Rexton. It's near Bucktouche. Is that, am I right in saying that? No, near Restigouche. Restigouche. And we best holiday of my entire life. I did book a gig during it, which I would always promise I won't do, but I did. I thought, oh, Rexton, that's near Campbellton. It's not, turns out. But I drove to Campbellton and did a gig. It was the Salmon Festival, I believe, in Campbellton with my friend Nathan Dimitrov, and had a wonderful time. I've been back to Campbellton a couple of times for corporate gigs, but I will be back there later this year in September, actually, for a comedy festival. Adam Blanchard, if you have time for a plug for this show, I'm on May 17th in Bathurst. I do, Adam. Which show are you on in Bathurst? Is it? Oh, yes, sorry. Oh, it's our friend Clive Lucas. And I just had a text from Jimmy McKinley. That's amazing. I think Jimmy won't mind me reading this out. I won't read it. I'll read it out next week. He gives me information. He sent me a hilarious text. Anyway, Bad Words for a Good Cause. May 17th, 8 p.m. in Bathurst. Basically, Clive organises these shows with phenomenal New Brunswick comedians, like top of their game, absolute, the best. This one, perfect example, Jimmy McKinley, Adam Blanchard, Clive Lucas, at Bathurst at La Luga Night Bar, which sounds very fun place to hang out. May 17th, 25th. Crucially, these shows feature comedy, but also raise funds for local charities, organisations. So comedy shows to support the Boys in Red scholarships. So please go to that. Charlotte Llewellyn, I would say probably one of our longest serving, listeners. And I love you, Charlotte, and I'm so grateful to you for support, kindness, friendship, messages, everything. What was my thought process on learning English literature and women's studies? Was there a certain direction you were headed? That is an excellent question. I will. Funny enough, I was actually interestingly asked this on the local FM podcast that I did the other week. Now, what it basically does start from, and I will talk about some of this actually on Saturday night. But basically, it came about because English was my thing. Reading was my thing. Like I mentioned this before, that growing up, reading books was my go-to. Libraries were my happy places. I had an amazing English teacher by the name of Mrs. Murphy. I also had another great English teacher called Mrs. Pedler, who I was just thinking of her recently because I think I talked about it on here. I found a short story that I'd written called Hitman, about a hitman who used to deflect attention away from himself by pretending he had a limp, or one leg, pretending he had one leg, so he would walk with a limp all the time. And then eventually, because I was obsessed with crime movies, obviously, as a teenager when I wrote this, movies like Reservoir Dogs. And basically, he kind of goes to do one last job. Everything goes wrong, and then the feds are closing in on him. And basically at the end, in the shootout, he gets shot in the leg, loses a leg. And so it's like irony. Although, speaking of irony, I have a limp right now. I have that joke about going to the doctor and him saying, take off your pants. And I say I have a recurring knee injury. And I actually didn't when I started doing that joke. Have a recurring knee injury. Now I do. So be careful what you joke about because it happens to you. Might have to start making jokes about... I'm not going to say that. You can start challenging. So an English teacher, Charlotte Llewellyn, who taught me English literature, She was told she didn't have to teach us anymore because she was diagnosed with lung cancer, and she was adamant that she wanted to keep teaching us through her treatment and actually through her final few weeks of living from her bed at home. I was going to say deathbed, but you don't call it that when someone's still breathing in it. It's highly insensitive. Heroic lady. And she was fascinated by it, and in turn made me fascinated by um, feminist readings of classic novels. And I think maybe it's the ADHD thing of wanting to hone in on a thing. So maybe I found it hard to broadly read a piece of Shakespeare or Chaucer. But give me something to look for and analyze, then I become obsessive about it. So I was obsessed with feminist readings of, of everything from obviously Jane Austen, Emily Bronte, Shakespeare, Chaucer, even later we would kind of be doing the same things with like Saul Bellow, feminist readings of those. So when I came to study in Kingston University in South London, I was majoring in English literature, but then minored in women's studies. And of course, there are inevitably it's one man and 100 women in these classes. Or in the case of the first ever lecture, there was actually 3 men in there. And I think they do things on a certain day to weed those men out. Like on the first day, I remember we came in and written onto the whiteboard. It was a whiteboard at the time. It said, "All men are rapists, discuss." And I think that was to weed them out. And it did. And it was just me for the following 3 years. But I was very, one of the first magazines I ever wrote for was the Feminist Times. Was definitely very active. And I mean, it's obviously still am in some respects in that, I generally the organizations and the charities that I like to be involved with are ones that stand up to bullies and stand up for victims of bullying. And essentially, when you think about domestic violence and indeed all misogyny is, of course, just a form of bullying, albeit the worst kind, as is, racism and homophobia and transphobia and all those things. So I've just always wanted to, do just, I hope that answers the question, Charlotte. I will try and refine it better. If you have any further questions, Charmaine Cap, have you ever done any shows in Cape Breton or driven the Cabot Trail? I have driven the Cabot Trail many years ago. Embarrassingly, and don't get me wrong, and I've done it since. I've been to obviously Cabot Cliffs, Cabot Links. I've spent some obviously time in Inverness. I've done shows on Cape Breton a few times, quite a few over the years. One of my very first shows. Well, actually, I say that my 1-year anniversary of moving here, I did a show at the Member 2 Convention Centre in Sydney. Always been desperate to come back, and thankfully, I'm going to be back in Cape Breton at the Cape Breton Comedy Festival this September with Ali Hassan, Scott Thompson from Kids in the Hall. I'm recording a CBC Laugh Out Loud taping for National Broadcast, plus hosting the big gala. So can't wait to come back. I will admit, embarrassing, that my very first time I did the Cabot Trail, my then girlfriend, now wife's parents drove me around it 25 years ago, and I was very burnt out from my time in London, and I'm afraid slept through lots of it. Jolene Nolan, what is something you still find weird about Canada or New Brunswick? That's a good question. It's something that I still find. I do still find it weird. Again, this is just how positive we stay here. I mean, it's rubbed off on me, but that stereotype of being nice, like, it's amazing how if what America were doing to anybody else, they would be like, obviously, don't get me wrong, the gloves are off and we're not taking any nonsense, but we're still being very gracious about it, and we're not being jerks about it. And not that I find this weird, but when you come from England, it's almost like you've got PTSD, and so you come here, and it takes years to kind of get used to the fact of how nice people can be and are be. Grace Burt Dijkstra, thank you very much. What are my dreams and aspirations? And Jared Lewis Davidson, where do I see myself in 10 years? To answer both your questions at once, my dreams and aspirations are where do I see myself in 10 years? Hopefully, if I'm very, very lucky indeed, still sat here, still healthy, still chatting to you on a weekly basis, hello, maybe a bit croaky, a bit older. Hello, it's April 24th, 2035, and it's time for episode 10 billion and 7 of Managed Weekly Ramble. My dear friend Bev has asked, if you were running for PM in this election, what would be your platform and what do you hold most important as a Canadian citizen? Um, it's a good question. If I was running for PM, what would my platform be? I mean, coming off the back of last night, it would have to be like finding funding for these things that local heroes are having to find funding for, which should just exist. Like the team led by Erin Bigney and Ben Appleby at Outflow. Like basically, this project simply needs $100,000 in order to support individuals who are homeless, because when they go to hospital, um, an individual experiencing homelessness in St. John goes to hospital, but then leaves, of course, and they don't then, after you leave hospital, you're supposed to recuperate at home. They don't have time to recuperate. They are then on the streets with the elements, with all the other dangers. So 50 patients experiencing homelessness accounted for 205 hospital admissions over 2 years. I mean, so basically, they need somewhere to go. So what they want is a place that someone can go from hospital to a house to recuperate properly and then not go back. And so if you want to talk purely from a capitalist and financial manner, it saves the province money, because the people aren't going back and using up beds and going back and forth and back and forth. And of course, it helps them live longer, live healthier, live happier. They need $100,000 to do that. They were not. They were winners in that they became finalists, and I hope you all get to see the film one day. It's absolutely inspiring, but they did not win the money last night. So right now, that is not happening. So my platform would be, rather than governments burning, giving money to Mark Zuckerberg and TikTok and putting stupid ads on these platforms. I mean, the amount of companies and organizations that locally, provincially, nationally, all preaching, supporting local, and all sending money to Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, an organization that actually physically funds, gave $1 million to Donald Trump for his organization, physically supports him, funds him, also uses their platform for brainwashing. I would stop that kind of waste of money, and again, I don't understand politics or the intricacies of it, but I would be going out there making sure that, I know people always go, oh, it doesn't work like that, this funding's for this and this funding's for that, and the government has, $10 billion to spend on advertising, and yes, they choose to spend it on TikTok, but I would go, okay, well, what do we got to do to change it so that $10 billion isn't spent and it's immediately transitioned over to community things? I would basically make what Shannon Hunter and her team do at the St. John Regional Hospital Foundation. I would make that like a government initiative, or find a way to just make it so the team that won, again, very well deservedly, was called Meet the Kids Where They Are. And basically, it was to introduce a school and health liaison role in 3 St. John's schools to improve access to health and social supports to children and families facing poverty. So over 50% of children in these schools live in poverty. Over 50%. So basically, it's just simply asking that someone, a pediatric nurse, someone can be in the school to help them with this. This is children, and they just, that was only. I mean, I know it's a lot of money, but it's also not a lot of money. It's only $100,000. Probably every candidate has spent more than that printing stupid signs. Not to, I know you've got a campaign and blah blah blah, blah. It's not as simple as that. But when I seeing this last night and seeing, I will post about all of these different. Again, one of the other teams that didn't win, but I sincerely hope gets the funding. Like I hope all of them get the funding, was Moxie, which is a robot designed to help nurses keep nurses in the wards with the patients, rather than running around doing menial tasks. The robot does the menial tasks while the patients are with. The one that won was Genetic Service in MB, which I mentioned earlier on, which again is an incredible thing. Shortens wait times, it improves genetic testing for rare diseases, saves lives, saves money. And then the other one, which again I sincerely hope gets funded as well, was a novel approach to basically prevent heart attacks, like see them coming a mile off and prevent them. I mean, life-saving, life-changing. So to answer your question, again, I don't do politics. I don't get political on this, but more community care. And someone once described the problem with politics to me. And the problem with politics is that everyone's thinking short term. Everyone's thinking, Marcel Lubon told me this actually. Everyone thinks short term. What can I do in the next 4 years so I get re-elected? No one thinks about bigger picture. No one's thinking about what's best in 20 years because they don't primarily care. They want to be re-elected. And they're not thinking about bigger picture future. So anyway, that's not to say all politicians aren't, but yeah, more help in the community, and especially the needy communities, and especially in the cities with the highest rate of poverty, and indeed one of the highest rates of homelessness in the country. Not the most positive way to end this, but it is positive because as a community we're going to work together to find these solutions, and I can't wait for that to happen. Thank you all so much for listening. I will leave on two positive notes. I think these are two interesting things that were sent to me on my the weekly share by my friend Chris Hatt, and the first one is this: people wait all day for 5 p.m, all week for Friday, all summer for winter, all winter for summer, and all of life for happiness. Don't let the pursuit of tomorrow diminish the joy of today. To remind myself of that all the time as I'm constantly going, well, after this gig, after this gig, after this round of gigs, I can relax. After this round of gigs, I can relax. And then the round of gigs ends, and then I'm on a buzz, and then that wears off, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not busy enough. I'm depressed again. I need to get on the road. And I get on the road, and I'm depressed. Anyway, and then this one, which is very similar to something which amazing Meredith Henry once told me: whenever you're going through a bad day, just remember your track record for getting through bad days so far is 100%, and that's pretty damn good. It is pretty damn good. You're pretty damn good. Thanks for listening to me. Hope to see you at one of the shows tonight, tomorrow, the next day, or indeed next week. Actually, next Wednesday I'm doing a wonderful fun thing with Marshall Button and actually the Archbishop of New Brunswick. Anyway, more to come on that on next week's podcast. Thanks for listening. Send your questions to comedy@jamesmullinger.com. I will see you all next week. Have a wonderful weekend. And for those of you that are coming on Saturday, I will see you there. Lots of love. Bye. Sorry, that's my stomach rumbling. Whoops-a-daisy. I should eat something. Bye.
Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.